Good day. Welcome. This is your Daily Med with Lady V. Grace and peace be multiplied as we continue to look at what Jesus says and did in St. John chapter 1, verse 16 and verse 17 as we continue our lessons. And he said to those who sold doves, "Take these things away. Do not make my Father's house a house of merchandise." Then his disciples remembered that it was written, "Zeal for your house has eaten me up." So as we know, while in Jerusalem for the Passover, Jesus was distraught to find the money changers doing business in the temple court, and he drove them out, reminding his disciples of one of David's Psalms, Psalm 69 and verse 9. Jesus would cleanse or clear the temple at least one more time. Story in St. Luke 19:45-48. We see this cleansing at the beginning of Jesus' ministry and at the ending of his ministry. The week of Passion, the week when he rode into Jerusalem on that donkey called the triumphal entry. There was a cleansing of the temple during that week again. So John records this first cleansing or clearing of the temple. And as we say, the second one occurred at the end of his ministry about 3 years later. So we know he definitely has a zeal for his Father's house. This event is recorded in St. Matthew chapter 21, verse 12-17, Mark 11:12-19, St. Luke 19, verse 45 through verse 48. God's temple was being misused by people who had turned it into a marketplace. They had forgotten or didn't care that God's house is a place of worship, not a place for making a profit. Our attitude towards the church is wrong if we see it as a place for personal contacts, for business advantage, or for personal gain. Let us make sure that we attend church for the right reason, and that reason is to worship God. We see that when the Gentiles came to the temple court, the place where they worship, they could not worship because the merchandising was going on, the selling of doves and of sacrificial animals and changing of money. Jesus was obviously angry at the merchants who exploited those who had come to God's house to worship. There is a difference between uncontrolled rage, as we will see with Jesus, and righteous indignation. Jesus was upset. Both things, whether it's righteous indignation or straight out anger that we have a burst or we flare up, both situations is termed as anger. We must be very careful how we use the power the power of emotion, that of our anger. It is right to be angry, but the Bible tells us we shouldn't sin. We become angry when we see injustice. We become angry when we see sin. It is wrong to be angry over trivial personal offenses. And the Bible says if we do, we should not let the sun go down on our wrath. Therefore, we must come to a stage or a point in life where we can't be angry, going to bed, waking up, being angry. Then we're going to find all kinds of resentment, and from that, all kinds of malice. But here, Jesus was offended, to be honest, and Jesus made a whip or a cord. He plaited it and he chased out the money changers. Does this example permit us to do the same? Does this example tells us that we can be violent against wrongdoers? The answer is no. Certain authority is granted to some, but not to all. For example, the authority to use a weapon and to restrain people is granted to the police officers, but not to everyone in the general public. The authority to imprison people is granted by judges, but not to all the individual citizens. So Jesus had God's authority and he was acting on the same. Some things we can't do because we do not have the authority. While we want to live like Jesus, we should never try to claim his authority where it has not been given to us. Jesus took the evil acts in the temple as an insult against God, and thus he did not deal with them who does these things half-heartedly, but he dealt with them in a way that they could understand that this is my Father's house, and they were using it for the wrong reason. They were using it with the wrong motive. Those reasons and those motives were selfish reasons and selfish motives, wanting to make one rich, wanting to make one have more. But we see Jesus was consumed with righteous anger against such disrespect for God and his house. So today, let us show respect to God and his house when we are in his house. And the reason or the purpose we go to the house of God is to worship God. Therefore, let us give him the worship, the glory, the honor, the praise that is due unto his name. Remember what Jesus did when the house of God became a place for profit making. He did not like it. God bless you. Thank you again for watching. Please subscribe. It is free. Like, share, comment, and continue to visit my YouTube channel, Daily Med with Lady V.